Today, we're going to be talking about how manipulation happens everywhere and in every government, and how our brains aid people in the act of manipulation. Before we start, we need to understand what manipulation truly is. Manipulation is defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary as to control or play upon by artful, unfair, or insidious means, especially to one's own advantage, or to change by artful or unfair means so as to serve one's purpose. Much of the time, it comes in the form of either restricting information or changing information in order for someone to think a certain way. A big example of this in world history is Joseph Stalin. Stalin was the dictator of the Soviet Union from the late 1920s to the mid-1950s. He was known for indoctrinating children as well as many other evils. Indoctrinate can be defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary as to imbue with a usually partisan or sectarian opinion, point of view, or principle. He's just one of the many people in history who have done something like this. Children learn about people like this in history class and are told they do so in order to not repeat it. But how many acts of manipulation are they told come from America? Usually that answer is close to none. 94% of people don't realize how common manipulation is in their everyday life. Just kidding. I made up that statistic. But did you believe me just because I've done hours of research and am telling you about the subject? This is just one example of how easy and simple it can be to manipulate someone. Sometimes it's just as simple as someone saying they forgot, or even as simple as silence. Ever heard of pausing for dramatic effect? Manipulation. Now, let's go back to Stalin for a minute. Remember how I told you he committed many evils? Another one of those evils was changing the Soviet Union history books to make him more prominent and seem more trustworthy. He tried to rewrite history. But then I linked manipulation to America. How does America fit into all of this? Before we answer that, let's recap real quick. Stalin was a big manipulator in history and did many bad things. Manipulation is a very simple thing and very common and can be disguised in everyday conversation. Now back to America. From a young age, we're being manipulated. Our parents teach us how to talk. They teach us certain morals. Our teachers teach us how to interact with people and the right way to do things. Some adults will give children treats for doing things they want them to do. These are all ways of manipulation. As people get older and going into high school and college, peer pressure becomes a big thing. That is a big type of manipulation as well as all the others they are still experiencing. They grow up some more and now they need a job. It's essentially the same thing as when you're a kid. You go through training, schooling, or both, in order for people to teach you the right way to do things. You get offered a reward for doing things that way, and in this case it's money. Even if you're an entrepreneur, the majority of the time, you are doing things for other people. And if the people can't be convinced they need it, your business fails. Now, the title of this has to do with the government, so where all does that fit in? Let's start with the politicians. A lot of the time, politicians are telling you what you want to hear in order to get into office. Manipulation. Those in office withhold a lot of information from the public, which is also manipulation. Those are just a few prime examples. But how the heck would our brain even allow this to happen to us? Like I said previously, manipulation is basically using one tactic or another to kind of control what someone thinks or does. In order to not do that, the person has to have original ideas. These are also known as creative ideas. In order to produce such an idea, many different parts of your brain have to work in harmony. Now, as marvelous as the human brain is, it loves to take shortcuts. It's a lot harder for the brain to think of an original idea than to just go with what it already knows. Therefore, it allows manipulation to happen extremely easily. This happens all over the world, not just in America, but many Americans seem to think that they're immune to this sort of thing. And manipulation is exactly why they believe that. After hearing all this, you may think that I'm just a pessimist that has a negative and skeptical view on the world. But did I say manipulation is bad? Your brain is trained to think of manipulation with a negative connotation. In my opinion, some manipulation is good. However, other manipulation can be really bad and even meddle history. So, what's true and what's not? What's good and what's bad? That's for you to decide.